I'm so excited for today's video. We are going to be covering Jack Katz's First Kingdom. And I gotta be honest with you, I think this comic might be one of the most detailed comics I've ever seen. There's so much detail. There's so much hard work. There's so much insanity in this comic. It's a very, very beautiful comic. And we're looking at a man who must have been insane or must be insane because he's still with us, still kicking. I think he's in his 90s. Jack Katz, I think, is one of the most underrated comic book artists that ever existed, if not the most underrated comic book artist of all time. I'd never heard of him before. I don't believe he's ever worked for the big two. I think he was always an indie guy. And this, to me, is an indie comic because anything that's not Marvel or DC is indie to me. And, of course, I consider Image to be mainstream, but Image did not exist back then, so we are looking at a maybe very ahead of its time indie comic, and this comic is First Kingdom by the amazing Jack Katz. So let's go through this. And of course, we have this beautiful page as we open up to, and right out of the gate, you're looking at an artist who you can clearly see did an amazing job at learning his anatomy, because look how awesome that arm looks. Look how awesome how the muscle is sort of tightening up, and how this muscle is also tightening up as he's pulling. It's beautiful stuff. But anyways, let's take a look at this. And of course, we have some forward, and there's our guy when he was a much, much younger man. And this comic is a weird one. So it's a beautiful comic, but I'm going to be honest with you. I do not like the lettering. I think the lettering looks like absolute dog shit. The artwork looks amazing, but man, does that lettering just not fit in with what you see on the page. And it's kind of sad and unfortunate that that's the case. I don't know if it improves as it goes on. I can't remember because it's been so long since I've looked at this. But yeah, and also, if you also can't see, there's a lot of words. There's a lot of lettering. Now, I'm a big reader. I love reading novels. But when it comes to comics, I'm all about what it looks like. And I always think that if you can draw a really beautiful comic and tell a decent story, I'm on board. And I feel like Jack was doing a little too much to tell his story. A little too much words on the page. It kind of takes away from some of the art. We're talking about 1974 here. So, mid-70s. Conan had been out for about 2 years at this time. And man, if I was a Conan artist, if I was John Buscema or Barry Windsor-Smith, who actually was probably Barry Windsor-Smith who was working at this time, I would have looked at this comic and been like, man, if only I was given a little bit more time to make great art. But I digress. Let's go on. And we're starting out with just amazing anatomy, amazing gesture, amazing form, unbelievable ability to add detail with cross-hatching. I mean, we're seeing cross-hatching all over the place. It's just a beautiful, beautiful sight to look at. And man, I mean, the power of the going from very, very open and a lot of whites and a lot of hatching into this very beautiful panel here where we see some shadow. Great stuff. And then we get an entire page. It's like he gave you a preview of what the next page was going to look like. And I mean, right out of the gate, amazing faces, amazing expression. I keep saying amazing, but it's extraordinary. I mean, this guy is an extraordinary artist. I don't know if he still works in comics, but when he did, man, was it great stuff. Oh, look at the amount of detail we're seeing on the page here. So great. I mean, it reminds me of like Albrecht Dürer or something like that, but in comic book form. And I can't imagine that these pages didn't take at least 2 weeks per page, the amount of detail. And when we go further in the book, you're going to see him adding. You think this is a lot of figures on a page? Geez, this is nothing compared to what it looks like later. I mean, look at that. The amount of figures, and everybody has their own kind of unique feel and unique style to them. It's just such beautiful work. Oh man, look at that. Just beautiful. I love and he's not using zips here. He's doing every individual line himself, and he's using cross hatching. I think about guys like Bernie Wrightson. I think about guys like Tim Vigil. I mean, they must have been looking at this stuff, because there's no way they weren't looking at this and going, my goodness, I wish that I could add this much detail to my work. And then, of course, Tim Vigil and Bernie Wrightson, very, very known for the amount of detail they put in their work. Man, look at that. Beautiful stuff. I mean, look at this. Those speed lines there. I mean, Otomo, eat your heart out, I compare Jack Katz to being like the Otomo of people. You know how, like, when you read Akira and you see all these amazing buildings and great perspective, and there's so much beautiful textures on those buildings? Well, Jack Katz does that with figures. And I'm going to be honest, I think figures are way harder to draw than buildings in perspective. But, man, just look at that amazing. I mean, that's just like, that's like a Frazetta painting right there. Beautiful composition. Just amazing how they're off in the corner there. And then you have this huge monster in the foreground. I mean, just awesome gesture there as he's going back. His legs are buckling. Oh. And just the amount, like, the ink job is just amazing. I mean, the forms in the face and the forms in the body. I mean, it's something, you could look at this and learn so much about art from Jack Katz's work. My goodness. Wow. And the amount of detail going on in the buildings here and the grass there. My goodness. Wow. A sight to behold, for sure. I mean, even like the way he draws fingers. I mean, sometimes he draws fingers like Jack Kirby, but man, that's fine as long as it. And I mean, that looks like a Buscema drawing there, Wow. And you can definitely see how he loves that cube. His stuff is very, has a very rigid feel to it at some points. I mean, there's not a lot of fat or flesh. A lot in the bones, which, the bones are super important, or in the muscles. Man, look at that. Just beautiful stuff. And I mean, the amount of detail he's putting on the water and on this armor that this guy is wearing, and the lines he's using on the top of the head to kind of get that form. I mean, he's just putting down, every line makes sense for what he's trying to do. And you have to just admire somebody who's just so good at what they do. I mean, we're looking at a master here. I say that about every artist that we look at, and most of the artists that I look at are masters. And I mean, you see little funny things like that where, it kind of looks a little stiff there. Not everybody's perfect, but hey, whatever. I'll take it for, the amount of time he must have put into these pages. Even the cloth. He's doing great drapery too. A lot of the characters are naked, or wearing, obviously, not very much clothing, but when you see that clothing come in, it's just beautiful stuff. And later on in the book, we see people in space, like astronauts, possibly people from the future. And, man, look at that background there. I don't know if he's trying to express like wind blowing. And then you see the stuff in the foreground from the cave. We're clearly looking outside of it, or we're inside of a cave looking out, or perhaps we're outside of a cave looking in. I'm not sure. But, man, even the way he draws like the back of the leg. And the amount of, you see they're building this huge building, and the perspective. It's just beautiful stuff. And then look at the amount of figures on that page there. My goodness. My goodness. Wow. Wow. I love that right there. I love that long abdomen separation between the rib cage and the pelvis. Just beautiful stuff. And that drawing there, the muscles and the triceps going into the elbow, going into the forearm muscles. It all connects just beautifully. And again, the amount of detail on that guy's armor, and even the detail on the cloaks that they're wearing. And look at the feather. The just how those feathers look so nice and fluffy. I mean, it's just his attention to detail, his attention to, I mean, just look at that. Wow. I mean, look at how complex that spaceship is, and then you kind of get these little lines for where the windows are. I mean, just, my goodness. You know, it boggles my mind that, you know, you see the amount of detail that goes in from this comic book artist, and nobody took comic books seriously, and I feel like people still don't take comic books seriously. And then you look at the fine art world, and you just look at how terrible it is for modern art. Modern art is crap, and I mean modern art like Andy Warhol shit, and it just looks terrible. And then you just like, and then people would go, "This isn't art. Are you fucking kidding me? This is art. This is art at the highest level." And we're talking, Jack Katz was probably in his 40s at the time he was doing this. He'd been drawing for a long, long, long time. Master. And I don't know what he did before this. I have no idea what he did. I don't think he worked for the big two. Oh my goodness. Just, my God. The amount, I mean, just like some Dark Souls shit there. Or some Elden Ring stuff. I mean, think about Berserk, right? If you've ever read the manga Berserk or seen the manga Berserk, come on. How did Miura had to have known that Jack Katz existed. There's no way that you don't. Man. Look at that, like, hunched over form, like, gesture there. And just the way he draws muscles. Oh, my goodness. Man, oh, man. Every page looks unbelievable. Look at that. I mean, that's just like a fine art drawing there. He had to have studied fine art, and I really do believe he studied Albrecht Dürer, because he reminds me a lot of Albrecht Dürer. And I mean, just the amount of figures he's putting on the page. I mean, and that's like John Byrne levels of stuff. Oh my goodness, beautiful, beautiful work. I mean, my goodness, look at that. Holy criminy. Man, oh man. Wow. Yep. I had not known about Jack Katz for quite some time, and when I found out about him, my life changed. I mean, it's kind of like when I found Tim Vigil. You know, it's just like, you can do that? Somebody can do that? And it's like, yeah, with time you can do something that amazing. But man, oh man. I mean, look at the amount of detail he's putting in, like, on the spaceship. I know I'm flipping through this quite fast, but I mean, just, wow. Look at that. The amazing perspective as it's like going around the corner. That's, I mean, come on, look at that page there. How can you not love that page? I mean, come on. Hemingway and Melvin would shit their pants if they saw this. And what I love about this, look how great that is. And what I love about this book is there's a sketchbook, a tiny small sketchbook area in the back, but you get to see some stuff like him drawing Cap, you know, doing his own rendition of Steve Rogers. And I mean, just the amount of, I mean, come on, look at that. The amount of people and the shading, the beautiful, beautiful shading. I mean, everything is perfect. Yeah, I mean, that is Jack Katz. I cannot say anything more than, I mean, the guy was brilliant, or is brilliant, still with us. Amazing artist. And man, if I had seen this, if I had been a kid back in the day, and I saw this next to Conan, I would be buying this over Conan. I love Barry Windsor Smith, but my goodness. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I got some special stuff coming up. I'm doing the top 100 artists, in my opinion, my top 100 artists in comics. And follow me on Instagram. Join our Discord. I want to create a nice little community where we can talk about comics, and people can introduce me to people like Jack Katz, And I appreciate all of you who subscribe, like, comment. Even if you dislike, I appreciate you. Even if you're taking 5 seconds, even if you jump on the video for 10 seconds, take a look and then walk away. I don't care. I appreciate everybody who watches, everybody who supports, everybody who writes a comment, everybody who gives me a thumbs up, thumbs down, any kind of interaction I appreciate. I appreciate all of you. And I'm going to do more Jack Katz in the future. I have all 6 volumes, and I'm going to do every single one of them. This is the first volume, and obviously the next one I will do probably sometime next week, and that will be the second volume. And I'll let you know that it gets real good. It gets real good. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you, if you had never heard of Jack Katz before, I'm so happy that I could share this with you, because this guy is like no other. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.